Hi, this is Joe again with another review. For saying in this video, well, since we're now in the month of October 2021, I figured to do a horror movie, which is almost kind of become a tradition with me, is to do at least a couple of horror movies in the month of October. Since I've been doing reviews on my YouTube channel, I figured, hey, do some reviews of some horror films. And the subject for and the movie we're going to be reviewing in this video is a 1957 film, Blood of Dracula. And of course, this movie, excuse me, this film is actually part of a trilogy of movies that took place in the late 1950s, because Universal at that point would pretty much stop making horror films because they ran out their string with, of course, all the Dracula movies, Frankenstein, The Mummy, The Wolfman, and of course, most famously and more recently, was the Creature from the Black Lagoon series. It started in 1955 and pretty much ended, I think, that year, 57 and 58. But this movie came out in 57, Blood of Dracula, and it was also a trend by I think this movie was made for one of the more independent movie studios, and they were capitalizing on the horror. Since Universal pretty much stopped making horror films, they decided that this particular studio, I forgot the name of the studio that produced this film, so I'm drawing a blank on the studio, that decided to make horror movies aimed at teenagers, because by the 1950s or the late 1950s and into the 60s, they started making horror. Or particularly starting in the 1950s, actually, they started making horror movies that aimed at teenagers. Starting, of course, with the Blob, most famously with the Blob, with Steve McQueen. They're making movies starring teenagers, and there was two other movies that preceded this one, called "I Was a Teenage Werewolf" and "I Was a Teenage Frankenstein." So you already had two movies before this one, and this movie. Blood of Dracula was originally titled "I Was a Teenage Dracula," or "I Was a Teenage Vampire." They were going to go either way on that, but they decided to, they figured that that's going to be the third movie in the series, and they figured, hey, it's going to be a running gag, so they decided to change the title to Blood of Dracula. Mind you, Dracula is not mentioned except for the title of the movie. Dracula is not mentioned at all in this film. You don't see Dracula. Dracula is running around, sucking the blood out of people, or attacking anyone in this film. You don't see him. Dracula is not mentioned. Bela Lugosi, I think he was about passed away, or should I say Bela Lugosi, who played Dracula, passed away or about to pass away when this movie got made. So there's no Dracula here, folks. It was real disappointing. But the plot of Blood of Dracula is there was this 18-year-old girl whose mother recently passed away, like 6 months earlier, and 6 months after her mother died, her father remarried, and the stepmother couldn't or didn't get along with the stepdaughter, so she sends the stepdaughter away to this boarding school, this all-girl boarding school, and so she was very reluctant to go, but she went anyway. And while she's there, she was bullied at first by the other girls in the dormitory, and then she ends up not really hooking up, but she has to make friends with one of the teachers in the school, who actually was a science teacher. That never fails, folks. Every time you do one of these reviews, there's some kind of noise or going on outside there. Like I said, the new girl decides to make a connection with the science teacher. And the science teacher was into all these weird and crazy experiments. And she was into, and the science teacher was into the occult, big time. So what happens is, So she ended up hypnotizing the new girl in the school, and she gave her, or the teacher gave the student, some formula that she was working on, and made between the formula and the hypnotism, was able to transform this girl into a vampire, which is really a nice, interesting twist. That vampirism is medical, maybe think like psychological, or some kind of you get bit by a vampire bat or something, and you turn into a vampire yourself. But in this case, the science teacher was making vampires. You're making the students into vampires by just this formula and hypnotizing them. And that's what happened to this girl. So this girl at night was running around attacking people. And that's what happens through the rest of this movie. And then eventually, the student and the girl happens to turn around. Actually, for the last 5-10 minutes of the movie, actually realizes what's happening to her, and she had out a big fight with the teacher, and of course, eventually the two of them started fighting, really going at each other in this film. It's a really good chick flick, and this is, like I said earlier, this movie came out in 1957, so it's really at that time you have a fight, a girl fight like this. And of course, we all know what happens at the end. The two of them end up killing each other at the end of this movie, at the end of the fight. But I thought it was, even though it is predictable, it is, and you know where the story was going to go, because especially if you've seen enough of these movies, like I have, you know how the movie is going to end. Eventually, it's going to end. I thought it was. It was interesting because of there's no, technically they switched the premise of what a vampire is, or how a person becomes a vampire. And all you have to do is hypnotize somebody and make them drink some kind of crazy formula, and will transform them into vampires. Instead of stereotypical buying somebody, or Bela Lugosi as Dracula comes in and sucks your blood and all that stuff. Which I thought was kind of interesting little spin on the vampire genre in horror movies. But it is kind of predictable in a way, but it is entertaining enough to go hold anybody interested, especially those who've never seen this movie before, like I have. Like I said, I just recently watched this film, and I thought it was interesting to see an interesting twist in how everything went down. So that's my review of the movie Blood of Dracula. Please click on the video, please rate it, please subscribe to my channel, please forward this video on your Facebook pages. You can check out all my reviews and on my YouTube channel at rallyc.com. That's all WDY. rallyc.com. That's my homepage. You're a reviewer. Please see more, and please check out all of his videos on this website. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.